Monday edition, Mr. Irrelevant of Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. Studio at the Avenue, downtown Milwaukee. Whole crew is here today. Josh DiMaggio is here. Will Summers is here. Hunter Vaughn is here at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. Good to be with you on this Monday. Lots to get into in terms of the Packers. We do have an NBA Finals. This Giannis Antetokounmpo drama continues. And, of course, we'll do a little What We Learned presented by Door County Distiller. But before we get there, I learned you could take a virtual eye exam in like 5 minutes today. I did it in the presence of Joshy this morning as I was ordering new contacts. Josh, technology's crazy, isn't it, man? It's awesome.
I think short of tragedy, starting your Monday with Alex Strouf is the worst way to start any Monday. It's a furnace blast of dumb, pointless questions, stream of consciousness, and then doing an online eye exam to get... Do that in your free time. Why do I have to be part of your eye exam?
Okay, so here's what happened. I have procrastinated on scheduling an eye exam, as I'm good at. I'm
still not Josh's fault, but okay.
Things. No. None of this is Josh's fault.
Still irrelevant to me.
And I thought of it this morning. I asked you a question. You had an answer, and then it just snowballed. Just became something I realized I could easily knock out quickly, so I just did it quick.
You realize you're paid to be at work today, right?
Yeah.
So we're on the same page. Typically, stuff like that we do in our free time, our downtime.
Yeah, but the issue is I can't do it on non-work hours.
Sure you can.
I don't think so. I think I had to do it between 9 and 5, which is when I'm here.
Your online exam you think you had to do, was there another person there?
Yes.
No, it was an automated.
Yeah, but it's already been reviewed and approved.
Great. If you did it on Sunday, they'd review it on Monday. That's why they do it online.
But it was quick, at least. You know, it's not like I was really bothering you.
Yes, it was bothering me because everything you do is a continued annoyance and a list of things. Hunter, he randomly asked me, for no particular reason, what's your favorite emotion?
Hunter, what's your favorite emotion?
Why are you asking teammates that in the middle of a work day?
Because I was curious.
That's not work appropriate.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
What's wrong with general curiosity? Your favorite emotion is totally work appropriate.
No, it's not. That's an after work conversation. That's outside of work.
Will, what's your favorite emotion?
Probably happiness. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably mine too. Elation.
Would you expect me to say like sadness? That's my favorite.
No, but like
just a real bummer, man.
No, your favorite. Well, Josh's favorite emotion might be anger.
It's not.
Annoyance. Annoyed.
Vindication.
Vindication is probably his, actually. That's a good point. That be fair?
No, I would say mine would be happiness, but what an irrelevant question to ask. What other answer is somebody going to give there?
Oh,
you know, my favorite emotion, pissed off. Hell yeah.
Like I said, that might be accurate for you.
Excitement, maybe a close second.
Yeah.
Love.
Oh.
You know what? I really like being sad.
Well, no, that's not what I was expecting you to say. You're a creative guy. You've got a deep vocabulary. I thought you were going to give me kind of a fun answer.
No.
I don't know why you're making me feel bad for talking to you.
It's not the talking to me. It's the relevance.
Does everything need to be relevant all the time?
You ask the type of questions you get on those like corny icebreakers that you have to do at your like first class. Describe your favorite emotion. Tell us something interesting about you. Everyone hates answering those questions.
No.
Yes.
I actually typically enjoyed the icebreakers in college.
Of course you did.
You're a human fortune cookie.
What does that mean?
Like those readings that come out of them.
I could give you readings.
Yeah, exactly.
You will have good luck in your near future.
Good thing I don't believe in fortune cookies.
Yeah, I had one yesterday. It said riches are coming my way.
Riches?
Still waiting. Yeah.
No, it already happened.
Yeah, that was a few months
from
late.
Craig Karmazin. Yeah.
No, I'm waiting for more.
Those readings, they also don't even give you fortunes anymore.
Real quick, yes or no, and then we get to the Packers. Do you eat the fortune cookie, yes or no?
Not all the time. Sometimes.
Did you yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. Will, fortune cookie guy?
Always.
Always? Okay, Hunter, are you a fortune cookie guy?
Yeah, it's apparently it doesn't come true if you don't eat the cookie first. You're supposed to open it, not
doing it
read it,
wrong
and
the whole
eat the
time.
cookie.
Oh, I never eat the cookie. I think they're gross, but I always do the fortune. I think
There
they're
are
fun.
there are some Chinese. We had Chinese yesterday, actually, as why I had one.
I gather
There are
that,
some
yes.
places, like there was one place I used to order from all the time on the east side, terrible fortune cookies. A different one that I shifted to, pretty good. There are
But they're
definitely
so
different.
bland. They're not like tasty, are they?
It's fine.
Flavorful?
They're definitely more of a gimmick than they are
Yeah.
actual dessert.
Right, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Maybe I'll grow up and eat them. I just don't right now.
You
Okay, I
won't.
do want to talk Packers though because there's a word I've been seeing a lot the last week, and I think it's because it was used in a Bill Barnwell piece on ESPN.com. But it's now being referred to. The Packers wide receiver room is constantly being referred to as a quote unquote log jam. After Bill Barnwell used that, I heard Greg Scalzi use it yesterday on Sunday Karma. I've heard Wildy and Tausch use it in the morning. I've heard Jen Gaiman Chewy use it. The show Joshi produces to a decent degree. The word log jam. Josh, you have become our vocabulary guy on this show. In fairness, Will, would it be fair to say you don't really know what the word logjam means? Like, you understand what it's trying to communicate, but you don't know the true definition of it. Would that be fair?
I mean, being completely honest, I don't know what it's trying to communicate as well.
I feel like the word is pretty self-explanatory.
I was just about to Google it.
Well, logs get jammed, I would imagine, when they are in the process of being cut. That would be my understanding.
I believe it has more to do with rivers.
Yes,
Yeah,
they get,
okay.
I was thinking like waterlogged.
Yeah.
yeah, they would send
Well,
the logs
waterlogged's
down the
different.
river after the trees were cut down. They would get jammed up in the river because there were so many logs, hence creating a log jam on the river.
Yes, because it was easier before you to get them out of the forest where you were deforesting. Instead of trying to haul them via truck, you would just plop them in the river, send them on down to the sawmill, which I'm sure was down the river somewhere.
Oh.
Yes. And then at certain points where it gets either shallower or tighter around corners and those things, you would get a log jam.
Got it. So when I hear this word, though, I don't take it as a diss or a problem. I view that as a compliment.
I think you misinterpreted what Bill was trying to communicate.
So log jam is negative.
Negative.
Yeah,
But
log
why
jams
is-
were
why-
dangerous and bad.
It is holding back production. It is stopping production.
But I don't think that's going to be the case in terms of the Packers wide receiver room.
Right. Well, we're having two different discussions here.
Right, but I want to discuss the word log jam. That's what I wanted to lead
Yes.
the show with, and then we can talk about
So-
the room. But
You disagree with Bill Barnwell's take, but a logjam happening at wide receiver would be a negative.
got it.
Yes.
Okay.
You disagree with him, but if we define it as he does, it's a negative.
Got it. And
Yes.
that's why we've been using the word a lot.
Yes.
And people have been saying there's a log jam at wide
Yes.
receiver. But number one, we don't know there's a log jam at wide receiver. We can speculate that there may be one, but we can't definitively say in the month of June. By the way, happy June, everybody. We cannot definitively say in the month of June. You could say it back.
Why did you just decide to stop mid-sentence to wish us a happy June? Have you ever wished anybody a happy June, Will?
I mean, we're 3 weeks away from the official start of summer.
Hunter, have you ever wished somebody a happy June?
No, because I'm a normal person.
So happy June. I don't think we can definitively say in the month of June, though, that the Packers have a log jam at wide receiver because we just don't know yet.
I
Is that
think-
fair?
No. I think what I'm having a hard time. I don't think you understand the concept.
No, I do understand the concept.
Eh.
So what Bill Barnwell wrote is that the Packers' problem will be having a logjam wide receiver.
Correct.
What we have determined through the term logjam is that is interpreted as a negative thing. It
Yes.
stops production, right? I don't think what the Packers have going on at wide receiver, number one, is a negative thing, and B, I don't think there will be a quote-unquote logjam at wide receiver in 2025.
Last year,
A little bit of a logjam.
was it good or bad?
But I don't find the issue in having multiple options at wide receiver. I view the issue as in the drops.
You realize this conversation is going back to the same exact conversation we had last year, but with a pretty new hat on it.
Yes.
A lack of wide receiver one. And what Bill's trying to communicate is he doesn't believe that in 2025, even with a first-round selection at wide receiver, Matthew Golden is going to be good enough to differentiate himself from the other wide receivers, making him a clear number one. He doesn't believe also then, in turn, that Jaden Reed isn't going to take enough of a step forward to take that, or Wicks, or obviously Christian Watson because of the injury. I believe he even insinuates that Romeo Doubs may end up traded.
Yep.
And what he's saying is you've got a bunch of guys who I'm not sure are going to separate from one another.
Okay.
You're going to have a bunch of guys who work better in certain situations, but make hard to decide who should be on the field more than the other and who should be getting the most targets. Because I would say last year, without having a guy that was Devontae-esque or name whatever wide receiver one across the league you would like, held them back because there was an uncertainty to the passing game. Who can we rely on third down? Who can we rely on when we need 7 yards to get us into third and manageable? Those types of situations. I think what he's saying is you're going to kind of have a go with your gut type scenario and play guys at random. You're going to have nobody who's on the field as much as any of those other guys. You're not going to know where to put them. Because if Matthew Golden is that guy, you're now taking Jaden Reed off the field. Is taking Jaden Reed off the field a good decision, or is it moving him outside? Where does Wicks fit into that? When Watson comes back, how does he work into that? That's what I think is going on here. And I think last year was a perfect example. Not having a wide receiver one is a detriment to your offense.
Detriment might be strong, but it is certainly not a positive. I would agree with you on that. I don't think it's necessarily a detriment.
You think it's neutral?
No, it's probably closer to detriment than it is neutral, but it's not all the way detriment.
Oh my goodness!
Because they still won 11 games. They were still a good offense. It wasn't detrimental.
Largely behind Josh Jacobs.
Yes,
but without Josh Jacobs, put in
Aaron Jones,
league average running back.
Aaron Jones.
That's a 6-7 win team.
Ooh.
Aaron Jones wouldn't have been able to withstand the amount of usage Josh Jacobs got.
I agree. That's good.
Yeah. So it would have been a lot more Emmanuel Wilson.
Oh, Chris Brooks, dude.
He's a fullback.
Would have been the Chris Brooks show. I still think he's going to make the roster. That's a story for another day. Okay, so largely detrimental to your offense. And to your point, this is a similar conversation we had last year. And I'll just real quick timeout. You're doing a great job. Because I was a little confused by the use of the word logjam so often. But also, I did want to have this conversation in the frame of let's remember what we did last year at this time, which was this, right? Is it their superpower? Is it a positive that they don't really have a clear-cut number one? After watching last season, I think we all came to the conclusion that no, it is not a good thing, right? They need that reliable guy. To Joshy's point, that's why we did the BBD, bring back Devontae campaign all offseason until he signed with the Rams. That's why we've been having this conversation. That's why there was so much excitement behind the drafting of Matthew Golden at the NFL draft 2 months ago now in Green Bay. The point is, I still, and maybe this is just me being a blind fan to the Packers, I still do have faith that the next step is coming for a Reed or a Wicks. I do have blind faith that Matthew Golden can come in and be a reliable target. Is that being a true number one receiver in the league, or is that just being a complementary piece to those other guys that have had more time to develop? Time will tell. But I don't view what the Packers are walking into as a necessary logjam. I just don't think they have enough reliable receivers for that to be the case, right? Unless Savion Williams way outperforms rookie expectations as a third-round pick, I think you've got the four with no Watson until likely midseason. I think you've got Matthew Golden, who I don't think we're going to see a ton of early in the season, unless, we see really good things from him out of training camp in the preseason. But I would guess the guys you will see on the field actively week one are Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavian Wicks, with a little Golden mixed in and maybe some Savion Williams mixed in. But I think, especially early season, a guy like Reed especially will have the opportunity to set himself apart and go, oh, okay, yeah, he's finally developed into the number one that we thought he was going to.
I don't mean to psychoanalyze you here, but it seems like you're trying to thread the thinnest needle possible of, yes, I recognize last year wasn't great and could be better, but what if one of these guys just is good? It seems is your answer. It wasn't a detriment, but it wasn't a positive. But I'm not too concerned because I still believe they're going to maybe potentially evolve. The real statement here is it's one of two things. Either Matthew Golden, through experience, because wide receivers come into the league and are ready to go pretty quickly.
Yes, they are.
As we see by the halfway point of the season, you've seen a lot of these guys who establish themselves become an absolute factor. A guy like Nico Collins, who takes like 2-3 years to develop and fully become into a star, that's pretty rare now. Like Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors contributed out of the gate pretty much. And then as the season went on, they got even better and better.
Yeah.
Is Matthew Golden going to be good enough to demand to be on the field and demand the ball? Or is Jayden Reed going to be consistent enough and play at the level we've seen him play to demand the ball? And you can give an outside chance. I'm keeping the light on for Dontavian Wicks, but to me, he's a distant third for that.
I would agree.
Like quite distant. So it basically comes down to those two guys. Is Jayden Reed going to be able to beat man coverage? If he can't, he's going to be largely what we saw from him last year.
The thing with this Packers offense, and obviously the biggest question mark for this Packers offense is who's your number one receiver, and that will remain the question until well into the season this year. But I think Dr. Denver Dan, which is a great name, ESPN Madison on YouTube points out, Musgrave and Kraft getting more attention will leave a lot of the receivers in one-on-one. If you can't win a one-on-one, you are not an NFL wide receiver. And to your point on that, Joshy, can Jayden Reed take that next step? Can he beat man coverage? Can he do things on the outside? Obviously, can he continue to be efficient in the slot? Right? Can you utilize him as the weapon that you were anticipating he could become? And he has shown flashes that he is that weapon, but kind of a disappearing act in the second half of last season for Jayden Reed.
Can I predict a storyline that we're going to be having week 4 or 5?
Well, 5 is the bye week, so the bye week conversation is what?
Yeah, we can have conversation. We talk about the Packers.
I just said bye week conversation.
No shows on the bye week.
That's not what I said.
We are going to be having a conversation. Is having a tight end as your wide receiver one like a way to proceed? And then we're going to draw comparisons to Travis Kelce, to some of those guys who were those. And are they good enough, or are they just the best option? Because if I see it playing out, I see probably pretty similar. You'll have a spike game from Jayden Reed or Dontavian Wicks mixed in early, but the consistent, I think, is going to be at very least Tucker Kraft. And we don't know what to expect from Luke Musgrave, but he was an NFL player.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed on him. I think those two guys could be really big, and I think that's a really good prediction.
And it'll be something like even wide receiver one by committee coming from the tight end room. Because I would imagine I think Tucker Kraft is going to have like 3-4 targets guaranteed, but there'll probably be games where Lucas Musgrave has some the guy runs as fast as like some of the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So to me, that's going to be our conversation because they are the two that we could probably predict the most consistent play time for and sort of reliability. I didn't feel like at any point last year Tucker Kraft was an unreliable target. They just didn't throw to him a lot or design plays to go to him a lot. But when they did, it worked.
You're right. And he proved that. And I think that's why there's so much excitement overall in terms of the skill positions on offense, despite not having the clear-cut number one wide receiver that this team has been longing for. One of those guys that has been longing for a number one wide receiver this offseason is Packers running back Josh Jacobs. He sat down with Burt Griffin of WFRV TV in Green Bay yesterday.
Burke?
Burke, yes.
Whoa.
Sounded like you said Burt at first.
I heard Burt.
No, his name's Burt Griffin. He's been the sports director at WFRV, which is Channel 5 in Green Bay for years and years and years. And
do you think
my fake alias in college, if I ever had to have conversations with somebody and I didn't want to tell them my name was Alex, I used the name Burke.
What scenario? Now this
yeah, let's leave that off the air.
No, don't do it, Josh.
Additional question.
Sure.
If you were to, from memory, repeat the most of anything, I contend call letters for TV and news or radio stations might be a top 10 for you. You can rapid fire from memory all the WSIN, WTMJ, like all of those. And now, granted, you watched that, but that seems to be a passion of yours to know. You love the letters.
No,
you love the letters.
I mean, I think I'm doing my job as a radio host and giving proper citation as to where we're about to play audio from.
You love the letters.
Wait, I feel like I could do pretty well with that too. I feel like that should just be a standard thing you can do if you're working in media, especially local media. Like, you should know the other stations out there.
No, I know the station I'm on and the stations that we were sister stations of.
No, I'm Team Hunter on this one. I think if you're going to cite something, you should know what it is.
Well, of course, if you're citing it, but you know them off the top of your head.
All right, quiz me. What do you got?
I mean, what is the most random one that you know you've got one in there that are like? Could you name a Cincinnati radio or TV station?
No, but I could do like the what was the TV show? Cincinnati
WKRP
show. KRP, yeah.
Do you know the Chicago, ESPN Chicago, what their letters are?
Yeah, it's WMVP. Yeah, I mean,
do you know the other station in Chicago's?
The Score? Are they W? Is it WSCR? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm good at this.
Letters guy.
I mean, I'm just a nerd. I know a lot of
Baton Rouge or like Louisville.
Baton Rouge. Actually, I think I have.
I've seen him on TikTok too.
I can tell you who's on that station. Mike Muscala's on there. Barstool Sports just hired T-Bone from the morning show in Baton Rouge. Yeah, I don't know, but like I work in media, so obviously I'm reading things about what other stations do and how we can maybe steal things or like copy ideas. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing.
It's just a weird quirk about you.
That's true. Okay, anyway, so Josh Jacobs joined Burke Griffin, the longtime sports director at WFRV TV in Green Bay.
Because usually, and citation works perfectly fine if you were to say channel 5 in Green Bay. That is adequate.
Yeah.
But you love to add the WFRVV TV.
Okay. You're right. I do like to do that. Fine, you win. WFRV TV in Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, and we remember, we played this a ton back in February. Josh Jacobs joining various shows at Radio Row at the Super Bowl in, not in Baton Rouge, but in New Orleans, Louisiana. And he talked about, we could use receiver. He talked about Devontae Adams. He talked about, maybe drafting one. He was certainly advocating for another wide receiver to join that room one way or another. And I think it struck some chords, right? Dontavian Wicks and Jayden Reed both tweeted about it and then eventually deleted it, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was certainly a touchy subject. Ultimately, the Packers do go ahead and draft the receiver in the first round of Matthew Golden, but then do it again in the third round by drafting Savion Williams. I saw Chef Ed commented something about Mecole Hardman. I don't see the comment anymore. I don't know if he tweeted then deleted. But Mecole Hardman also obviously brought into the wide receiver room. I think it's unlikely he makes the roster, but still another receiver that was added to a room that was all in all semi-underwhelming in 2024 for the Packers. So Josh Jacobs asked yesterday on Joshy, WFRV TV in Green Bay, about the receiver and where he stands after OTAs, or the first part of OTAs are in the books. Here's what Josh Jacobs had to say yesterday.
We got a deep raw receiver room. A lot of those guys have a lot of ability, and it's just about doing it at a consistent level and doing it at the highest level possible, which I feel like a lot of them will. You can see them come in this year. It's just different. The energy is different. The way that they look, the way that they run their routes, everything is different. So it's going to be fun.
So, I don't know what to take from that. It's a very canned answer, I think clearly after he ruffled some feathers at the Super Bowl back in February, but complimentary. We've got a lot of guys that can do different things. It'll be fun. Joshy, that does not scream to me for a guy that was pretty adamant about the idea of adding a number one receiver, that he's comfortable with the assessment that they now have a number one receiver. That is not what I get communicated when I listen to that.
I think Josh Jacobs had a conversation with Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur, and they said, please, in the future, be less forthcoming with your desires, you can bring them to us and we'll happily listen to you. But I don't know if bringing them to the public and getting your teammates possibly offended, because then you have to go and communicate to each of them that it's nothing against them, but we think that there should be elevated production. I also think he simply has no idea, so he doesn't want to get himself committed. They've had OTAs thus far. He's seen Matthew Golden in shorts and a t-shirt. He looked good, looked fast.
He's probably seen him go, wow, he's quick.
Yeah,
but
that's looks fast out there. What that turns into, I don't know. So he didn't want to make a commitment of, we've got it figured out.
Yep.
But he's also, there's truth to it, because the Packers very deliberately have differing guys that they want to play differing positions. Mm-hmm. They're not simply just draft a guy because he's a guy and we think he's talented. They've got a Jaden Reed because they want him in the slot. They've got a Wicks. They've got a Watson. They've got a Dobbs. They've got all these guys, and now they've got Golden and Savion Williams who play specific roles. There's really only 3 guys who are like true, pure wide receivers on the roster. And that might even be like Wicks and Dobbs and Golden are really like your traditional receiver you think of. Mm-hmm. A guy who's going to go run routes, be where you're supposed to be. The other guys, some of their skills aren't necessarily just wide receiver. It's like the end. Savion Williams might not catch a pass, but he might touch the ball 60 times.
Right.
Like that. There's a potential of that because of the style of wide receiver he is. He might, like, if he doesn't have a catch more than 10 yards downfield, I wouldn't be surprised through the entirety of the season. Just because of the style player he is.
He's been compared to Cordarrelle Patterson, right? So he's a guy that can line up in the backfield. He's the
take
end
a true
arounds.
handoff,
right.
End arounds, like all that stuff. And I'm sure they're going to be running screens to him,
which is great. And again, I don't want this number one and lack of number one wide receiver conversation to derail from, I think, an opinion you and I agree on, which is, this Matt LaFleur offense has the opportunity to do some great stuff in 2025. Think about the creativity after you listen to the list Joshy just rattled off. Right? You've got so many guys that can do so many different things. You've got what we imagine is an improved offensive line, another year for Jordan Love as the starting quarterback, and another year of comfortability for him, another year of comfortability in the system for Josh Jacobs. The possibilities for this Packers offense going to be immense, and a big year for Matt LaFleur to show, hey, by the way, I'm still one of the best offensive-minded play callers in the entire National Football League. It's a good opportunity for him to remind everybody what he's made of after an early playoff exit last year. Now, listening to Jacobs, yes, I agree with you. I think somebody pulled him aside and said, hey, buddy, let's tone it down a notch. It sounds like he's happier than he was in February, but that was also the freshness of being right out of the playoffs and the frustrations of the drops and the lack of production from some of those wide receivers. But I think we are now at a good point where you've got enough guys in that room, and I'm going to sound like a fool because it's exactly what I said last year, but this feels like you've got enough guys, enough candidates where at least one of them can pop in 2025.
Is there any chance that Josh Jacobs is just like a mastermind and knew that saying that was going to light a fire under those guys from playing with them last year, and this was all just a ploy for him to like get some better energy out of the guys at the start of the year?
Well, I don't think you properly nailed it. What I do think is they talked about this internally, because not Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed in his press conference said, we talked in-house about committing assets to the wide receiver, and that there would likely be one in the draft. I think there was some pretty frank conversations that maybe Josh Jacobs let outside of the building that weren't supposed to be outside of the building. Like, it didn't come to it. And if we're taking Jaden Reed at his word, I have a feeling the offense and the players and the wide receiver specifically knew that something was going to be happening in that wide receiver room, but seeing it publicly aired in the way Josh Jacobs did when he went on a media tour for the Super Bowl, where the most eyes and ears are going to be listening, is probably not how they wanted that discussed.
I would agree.
So I think you're partially right that this was something that was talked about and they knew about, and he was just voicing what was a larger held opinion or belief amongst the team.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it. So we will see. I mean, obviously, we've got a long offseason ahead. We've still got, quick math here tells me 97 days until the Packers play a real football game when they play the Detroit Lions week 1 at Lambeau Field. We've got plenty of time to continue to evaluate and estimate what this wide receiver room looks like. I think the ultimate point, though, despite the lack of clarity of whether or not there's a true number 1 on this roster, is there's plenty of excitement for this offense. I think from both of us, right? You wouldn't disagree with that?
No, I'm plenty optimistic. I think we might see some overreactions early, so I'm going to try and weather that storm, because if things don't come out clicking and looking like, oh wow, we've got all these new weapons and they're contributing, and the biggest portion that we haven't brought up with this conversation is what does Jordan Love look like? Mm-hmm. Because average, mediocre, or just sort of good Jordan Love is going to affect those guys more than a Jordan Love playing very well. Sort of, all tides
lift all boats.
Yes. Also, you said something earlier. Uh-oh. Was it about sounding like an idiot, or what did you say before you gave your take on the wide receivers about one of them elevating?
Oh, I said I did this last year, so I might sound repetitive or like an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. Just save the preamble next time.
You really had to go back to that?
We get it.
You had that holstered?
We go in, we understand it. It's determined. It might happen. You're prone to do that type of thing.
That was an unnecessary callback. I'm on your side on that.
Well, yeah, that seemed...
I don't even remember you saying that.
I don't know that anybody else did either. But
I love it. Real-time coaching. We got to keep that up. Uh-huh. Hold ourselves accountable in show.
Guys are idiots.
Thank you.
It stuck out.
Are we all idiots?
Yeah.
I think we all have a tendency to be idiots at times.
And those times specifically 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
For you, maybe the entire 4 hours preceding the show when you're babbling in my ear. Sometimes that too.
I didn't realize you had an issue with me today. I would have left you alone. You could have asked me to leave.
See, the thing was, you were fine until the eye exam. And that, for whatever reason, the eye exam switched to flip for you, and you became pest-strophe.
Yeah.
Something about doing the online eye exam.
Well, it was kind of a goofy concept in my defense. I didn't realize, 2025, I know it's crazy. I knew you could do a lot of stuff. That's one that I didn't think was possible, because don't you have to, don't they have to blow the air in your eye? And
Well, so you were just getting contacts.
Yes.
So what they were testing was to make sure that the prescription you currently have is at least close enough to be legal to drive.
Got it.
And so that's what they were doing. They weren't doing do you have an astigmatism or do you have issues? It was just simply, are these the right
Are they
ones?
working?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I didn't think I had to say that, but I guess I did.
It's
well,
true.
no, because
of course
I think, but I think it says I don't need to get an exam now. I'll look into that later.
I think they were saying for a new prescription.
Yeah, they were just seeing if your prescription's changed. That's it.
Yeah. The eye doctor suggests you go yearly to check up on your eye health. They're pretty important.
Did you notice how, so I was reading letters. They were having me cover one eye and read letters.
Yes.
Did you notice how I got one wrong and then corrected myself?
I did. You said G instead of O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar shaped letter, though.
Yes, somewhat.
Okay. Big news out of the NFC North today. As not often you see this on June 2nd, right? I mean, you hear retirement and you think that's usually an April, March even thing in the NFL. A June 2nd retirement was not something I had on my bingo card. As Detroit Lions center, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler Frank Ragnow at the age of 29 has announced his retirement from the National Football League. And number one, you hate to see great players hang it up early, right at age 29, but it's becoming more of a common theme, especially with offensive linemen. The former Badger Ryan Ramczyk, who spent his entire career with the New Orleans Saints, former Pointer as well, hung it up earlier this year as well. But to see Frank Ragnow call it a career is really interesting. And by no means, I don't mean to dunk on Frank Ragnow retiring, but seeing the news that Frank Ragnow is no longer going to play in the NFL spells out to me the Packers have a super prime opportunity to get back into first place in the NFC North. The Lions have now lost both their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator, and now their 3-time All-Pro center this year, going into next season. The Minnesota Vikings do not have a quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is the Minnesota Vikings quarterback. I don't anticipate they're going to win 12 games again this year. And the Bears, well, they are the Bears. And with the schedule beginning week 1 against the Detroit Lions, it's a prime opportunity for the Packers to get an early season win and an early season lead in the NFC North. While the schedule is difficult, good teams should still win a lot of games despite the schedule being difficult. So this news actually just furthers the narrative this offseason. I think the Packers are in a prime position to reclaim the NFC North in 2025.
I wish I had the level of optimism you do.
Thank you.
I did find it strange.
In terms of the timing?
Yes. For my understanding, there was some debate on whether he was happy or not about his contract and then just decided to retire. I don't find it strange him retiring. It's not all that uncommon for those offensive linemen who on every single play are taking hits. And the amount of ligament damage that happens. I mean, just ask Tausch about all that type of stuff. It does put them in a spot where what I'd like to know is, were they planning for this at all, or did it come as a complete shock? Like, had Frank Ragnow made any comments about the potential for retiring or his uncertainty about his future?
So he had if I'm not mistaken, you referenced an article you read this morning. It was something that he was having a contract dispute?
Yeah, so I didn't do the total research. I wasn't sure, was he not in attendance at OTAs, which then led people to say
here from Daily Mail. Ragnow had been in a contract dispute with the Lions for a number of months following their season ending in the NFC divisional round. Now at age 29, Ragnow revealed in an Instagram post that he would be ending his career.
Yeah, so it seems like they didn't pony up, and he said it's not worth my time. So I would imagine they had an inkling it could happen. I don't know. I don't know how those discussions went. Like, are they completely now where they're in a spot where they have to play Jacob Monk at center? Or
right.
Their equivalent.
Their equivalent
like
of Jacob Monk.
A guy they drafted that was a mid-round to late-round pick? Or have they taken efforts to, like, maybe slide somebody there, move them around? I don't know. Could it be a factor? I think losing an All-Pro and Pro Bowler is certainly...
I think it's likely. So it looks like they've already updated the depth chart on ESPN.com. It looks like Graham Glasgow will slide into center. And then I believe it will be Tate Ratledge that moves to right guard. Ratledge, isn't it?
I thought it was Rutledge.
Pronounced Rutledge. It's spelled Ratledge.
Yeah, so I would imagine they had some inkling. If it, like, obviously losing a All-Pro, Pro Bowl type player is going to matter, but that offensive line is also so good already, where I think weakening it by, what do you say, 20% at that position?
Maybe, right? I mean, Glasgow's also a really good offensive lineman. And you have, I mean, Dan Skipper is considered their 6th offensive lineman. And that's a guy who, if I'm not mistaken, is a former All-Pro who's now not on the front lines.
I do not know.
No, you know what? I'm just inflating him.
Journeyman.
Isn't he the one that caught the touchdown pass? I'm screwing him up. That's all that happened.
I believe he's like a career journeyman.
But still a good offensive lineman. They have a really good unit. They have the best tackle in football in Penei Sewell. And a really good offense.
Aside from the specialists, the center, snapping is important.
Sure
but
is.
once you get that part down, like, that's the most inconsequential of the positions probably on the field. Like, in terms of holding up an offensive line, you certainly recognize a really bad one.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Josh Myers...
I was just about to bring him up.
Josh Myers didn't get starting level money when he became a free agent. So he was viewed as a backup, and the Packers' offensive lines have been good to great.
Correct.
Under Josh Myers.
He's had some moments, especially not last year. Really, he was pretty solid last year in the final year of his deal. 2 years ago, though, there were moments where you went, "Oh goodness, he is never going to get to the level he needs to." And then last year, I would say he was a completely competent starter.
Creed Humphrey.
Yep, good point.
One pick after.
One pick. Could have been a little different.
Another layer to the Ragnow stuff, because then I just kind of started to go down a rabbit hole here in Google. He also has been dealing with, since 2021, a severe and inoperable turf toe injury. and had been playing through that since.
Goodness.
So, like, I have a feeling that a part of this was, do I want to do this anymore? Like, is this worth it anymore? Like, do I want to keep going at this? And then, two, if he's in a contract dispute, like, okay, if they're not going to give me the money I should get for having to deal with this, like, I'm just going to be done, kind of a situation.
I guess I didn't realize the turf toe thing.
Yeah, and, like, I didn't either. Also, like, I don't know if this moves the needle on where the Lions are going to be when you just saw the Eagles lose a first ballot Hall of Fame center in Jason Kelce, and their O-line was just fine.
In fairness, I think the only thing that was different is the Eagles had prepared for Jason Kelce leaving actually the year prior and had come back. So they had like a in waiting type of deal.
They had a contingency plan.
And what I guess we'll find out in the coming days, hours on this is, had the Lions had any idea that this was a possibility? Because if it was a complete surprise, then I think it's a little different and a little more concerning. If they were going into the season saying he might play, he might not, and we think we're fine, then
kind of a nothing burger.
Right. It's not going to change anyone's odds.
No, I don't think it moves. I don't think it necessarily changes the odds. I think it just furthers the point, though, that you are dealing with a team who has a ton of turnover, really important turnover, I should point out, more than a lot. It's important turnover. You have to change. You have to replace your offensive coordinator. You have to replace your defensive coordinator. And we've seen in the past, for really good teams that lose both of their coordinators, sometimes that ruins a season for you. And you can get right back at it. Philadelphia is a great example, right? 2 years ago, they lose both of their coordinators. Not Sirianni. They lost guy in Indianapolis and the Gannon in Arizona. Shane Steichen is his name, who's in Indianapolis. Lost Steichen and Gannon, and they started the season really hot. I think they started 10-1, and then they lost 6 of their last 7 games, including a wild card exit, because it clearly played a role. And then they have another year with their coordinators comfortable, and to Hunter's point, they lose Jason Kelce, but they were kind of waiting for that, and ultimately they win the Super Bowl the next year. So it can take a really good team just down a peg for a season while you get reacclimated to your new, not necessarily new systems, but your new play callers, the new guys in charge. It's a little bit of a shakeup, and sometimes that ruins a season for a team. Not ruins in terms of, they'll only win 6 games, but it could make what should be a, say, 13-win team again, or 14 or 15-win team again, to a 11-win team this year. They might go 11-6 instead of 14-3. But that opens a significant window for the Packers, who also live in that same area. And by the way, as we've highlighted a few times since the schedule came out a few weeks ago, that week 1 matchup carries a lot of weight for that reason. If you can get a week 1 win against the top dog in your division, have a 1-0 record in NFC North play before you go, whatever it is, 9 weeks without playing another NFC North game, I think that's super crucial to the Packers' success, because they are in the mix for the division. They are not the betting favorite, but they are certainly in the mix. And I think this is just a little, again, I don't think this changes the odds, but I think it slightly moves the needle a little bit closer to the Packers, who have an opportunity to win the NFC North. I think Minnesota can still be a good team, but J.J. McCarthy is a huge question mark, and it might take some time for him to get up to competent levels of quarterback play, and that might cost them a few games. Chicago, I just don't think they're in the race yet. Well, I think they can be a 7-8 win team or 9 win team. It's not going to be good enough to win the NFC North. And Detroit, there's question marks there, despite them being a really good young team and obviously very well coached by Dan Campbell. So I think the window is open. I still think they're the favorite, but I think that just opens the window just a little bit more for the Green Bay Packers in 2025. That was kind of my reaction when I saw that news this morning. Frank Ragnow, the 3-time All-Pro, retiring, at least for the time being, from the NFL. Let's get to Giannis and the Giannis headline today. Apparently, according to a longtime beat writer in Toronto, in a Toronto newspaper, no call letter, so I don't know the name of it, that there is mutual interest between Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Raptors this offseason. Now, okay, Raptors not very good right now. I imagine they have assets. It just doesn't really seem like a team, A, the Bucks would trade him to. I would imagine if they were to trade him, it would be Western Conference, and B, I don't know what Toronto has that would move the needle for Giannis. So I'm going to go ahead and say that. Headline, while it may be true, also feels like bologna sausage.
Yeah, I don't think it's true. I simply think they want to be in the Giannis
sweepstakes, yeah.
And it sounds good for their fans that they would be. But what would Toronto have after a trade for Giannis?
Less than the Bucks.
They would have Giannis.
They would have less than what the Bucks did.
Yeah.
I mean, the only player they have is Scotty Barnes, and all their draft picks are pretty basic. Just one pick in the first and second round the next couple of years. So,
yeah,
really no capital there.
I can't imagine they would be able to figure out a trade that keeps Scotty Barnes.
Here's the part of the Giannis sweepstakes, if that's what we're calling them, the Giannis saga, the Giannis whatever, Giannis watch. I think people from a national perspective sometimes forget he's under contract. He's not a free agent.
Contracts don't matter in the NBA.
I agree with you, but it's not like he can just willy-nilly sign wherever he wants. You know, it's not like he can just say, okay, I want to go to Toronto.
But he can willy-nilly say, I want out, and these are the teams I'm okay with going to. Like, NBA players have enough power that it is basically free agency for these stars whenever they want it to be.
Yeah, but also the team needs to get compensated, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So it's not like, voila, tomorrow Giannis is a Raptor. It's just not that simple. And I think that's what's lost in the circus that is the NBA. And I mean that as a compliment. In the circus that is the NBA, when we're talking about guys like Giannis, right? And superstars get traded. Giannis's rarely get traded. Luka's maybe the one example recently of a legitimate trade for a bona fide superstar that's got a lot of tread left on the tires like Giannis does at 30 years old. So I just think sometimes when we're reading headlines or we're hearing debate or from a national perspective, I think sometimes we lose sight that he is still under contract and you would need to trade him. So that's just kind of my takeaway when I read stuff like this.
Do your opinions change on this if I told you that according to Google, Toronto has a very strong Greek community and has a neighborhood that is called Greek Town and has had a huge influx of people immigrating to Toronto from Greece since the turn of the century, so the 1900s.
Okay, Great research by you and Google AI, but what was your question? Does this change anything?
Yes, knowing that, like, okay, if they have a large Greek community, if he could feel like that is more, like, connected to a Greek community compared to Milwaukee, does that change your thoughts on that?
You know who also has quite a significant Greek community?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Chicago. Ohio. Massachusetts.
Josh, I understand that. My point is being that if that is the largest Greek community in the country of Canada, and Toronto is one of the largest cities on the entire planet, that I was just asking the question of, okay, maybe if that's a large and significant community,
let me ask you this, Hunter. Let me ask you this. Hunter, you ever been to Oakland Heroes before?
No, not a big fan of Lamb.
Really? That surprises me.
Yeah, I've had it before. Just
yeah.
Love Oakland Heroes.
Oakland Heroes for anybody who is college aged in Milwaukee. It's like a rite of passage. You have to go there after bar close.
Yep.
You have to stand in that line.
They're open till like 4 a.m.
You have to watch them cut it. You have to watch how secure they are with their tzatziki.
You know where I went the night the Bucks won the NBA championship?
Oakland Heroes.
Indeed. Yeah.
And did you think you were doing like a fun little head nod to Giannis and?
No, it was my buddy just lived right up the street from there. Yeah, no. It was.
I thought you were doing a thing.
No, I was not doing a thing.
You haven't attended.
I drank beers until 3 a.m. and I was like, wait, I got to get back to Madison at like 7:30 or leave at 7:30. I should probably eat something before I sleep for a few hours.
It's fair.
So Oakland Heroes was the easiest stop. And it was delicious. They provided, as it always does. NBA Finals are set in the NBA after the Indiana Pacers dispose of the New York Knicks the other night. That series is over. It goes 6 games. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder punched their ticket last week after getting rid in 5 games of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, and what was not a very entertaining series. It was just a lot of blowouts. But that's typically the game the Oklahoma City Thunder have played. This is one rare time, and I say that sarcastically, where I'm going to remind you of my childhood. Nothing? Hunter, go ahead and throw up the picture I sent you. Here's me and the Bronze Fonz. This picture taken in 2014 when I attended a Thunder Bucks game at the BMO Bradley Center. I was rooting for the Thunder back then. I believe that was Russell Westbrook's either first or second career triple-double, which is bonkers because he's had so many.
Was that Giannis's rookie year then?
Would have been his first or second year, yeah. Yeah, probably his rookie year. Don't think he was really playing. I think it was more about like Larry Sanders at the time. O.J. Mayo. Good Bucks teams, man.
Nope.
No, they weren't
not good.
They were not good at all.
What do you imagine we do with what you just brought to our laps?
I just wanted you to see the picture. I just thought it was fun. Make fun of me.
Yeah, I mean, you look like as much of a weenie as you do now. So.
That's exactly what I wanted you to do. You did it. That's it. So I'm rooting for the Thunder. My girlfriend did dance for the Pacers dance team for one season.
The Pacemakers?
The Pacemates.
Oh.
We are a little bit of a split household right now.
I'm sure everybody's going to be locked in all the way along with you guys.
Who are you rooting for?
Don't have a rooting interest.
So here's the thing.
Whoever I decide to gamble on at the weekly wager on Wednesday.
Okay. I tweeted on Saturday night when the series ended. Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, this is
the give no F shot towards the end of the game where he just threw up whatever it was, like a 32-footer, swished it, and celebrated. And I tweeted something to the effect of, fine, I'll say it, Tyrese is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And you dunked on me, which you're more than allowed to do. Something to the point of, you can say a lot of things about Tyrese Halliburton, and many of them complimentary, rightfully so. Cool is not one of those things.
Cool is nowhere near Tyrese. He is like he's like a distillation of all memes that he's constantly trying to reenact. He's like, what has somebody else done that was cool, and what if I do it again? That's sort of his whole thing.
Sure.
Like, he's not naturally cool.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree.
He's far more uncool.
I got to be honest with you. I meant that, and I probably, and now, admittedly, I was having a few drinks on Saturday night. I don't think I meant it from like a, hey, I'd hang out with him perspective. I more meant it from the run he's having, the type of player he is, what he's been able to accomplish for this team is cool, more so than personality cool. But I can see how that could be interpreted.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you decided to have this conversation because somebody just wrote a article about how uncool the NBA is right now for a place that is so common for setting trends and pop culture and all of that. You think back, obviously, famously to like Allen Iverson. I think there's probably a time where Dame Lillard in his Portland days was really cool. There aren't really cool superstars. The best case you could make is Anthony Edwards. He's got some things.
He's cool.
Bring your ass.
But all the other kind of stars are all pretty lame.
That's a good point. I'm just trying to wrap my head right now and think if I can.
SGA is pretty lame. I can get behind that. I mean, he's really good at basketball, but he's not cool.
He's not a huge personality.
Yeah, he's
right.
Is
Jokic cool?
No,
he just wants to race his horses.
Good, but
well, that's why I brought it up, Hunter. Is exactly that, like the cool, calm, collected nature of not really giving an F from Jokic. I think that's kind of fun.
I mean, I put it up on the
Giannis
screen here
cool,
too
but obviously I'm biased.
to further Josh's point about Tyrese Halliburton, and it's the Kiss call it stolen aura. Yeah, he's just copying other people doing cool things. None of it's original.
Molly Brown just texted us from Jim, Matt, and Molly, weekdays from 4 to 6, ESPN Madison, who just got nominated, by the way. Congratulations, Best of Madison Radio Team. You can vote on that beginning yesterday, I believe, over at Madison Magazine. Molly said, Joshy, who's cooler, Jason Tatum or Tyrese? Both seem like nerds, she said.
Yeah, I mean, and they are very similar. Like, Jason Tatum is like role-playing as Kobe.
Yeah.
And trying to like emulate directly. Tyrese is like crowdsourcing. Whatever got popular on the internet, he then wants to.
Let's keep in mind, these are 24, 25-year-old guys
Right.
That's the era we live
Allen
in.
Iverson wasn't doing that. He was cool. He was on his own.
Well, that's
he
true.
was.
He was a trailblazer.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was significantly his own person and doing his own way. Like, no one says you have to reenact celebrations of other people. Like Jason Tatum trying to do the Kobe picture. Like, it's just be your own person. They were young when they were doing that. The famous
Sure.
Kobe picture of hugging the trophy. He was a young man.
He was.
I would agree. Ant is probably the coolest player out there right
Yeah,
now.
I think that's it.
He's the guy that's not replicating other people's style, kind of creating his own.
I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, but when you think of like the coolness of Ant, it pales in comparison to like all the other past cool NBA players.
So that's when you're going like AI, Kobe,
Right.
Shaq.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you. Speaking of Shaq, by the way, he's the best. Inside the NBA on TNT came to an end Saturday night, the final episode before they move over to ESPN next year. What a great show, though. So many great moments. I spent my Sunday watching some of the greatest Inside the NBA moments from over the years. And I just got to say, if you are not familiar, which I think everybody is, but if you are not familiar with Charles Barkley's beef with the women of San Antonio, you just look up Charles Barkley,
So
San
good.
Antonio. Do me a favor. You'll thank me later. All right. You learn
Second
something new
best
every
is
day.
the
We learn something new
Galveston
today.
Dirty Water, by the way.
Oh, yes. I actually hadn't seen that until yesterday. It was the first time I'd seen that. But yes, I'm with you. Very funny. You learn something new every day. We learn something new today. Time now for what we learned on Mr. Irrelevant, which is presented by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. We will be up there next Friday, the 13th, June 13th. Me, Hunter, and as of today, Josh DiMaggio is coming to Door County Distillery Friday the 13th. With you a little bit longer that day, too. We'll be with you 12 to 2 that day here on ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube, live from Door County Distillery. But it's summertime. Let's be drinking the right stuff. The Rock Island rum, the cherry brandy infused with local Door County cherries, the single malt whiskey, the bourbon, all delicious, and there is even more where that came from with Door County Distillery. Visit their website, doorcountydistillery.com. Find the retailer nearest you, as well as a huge list of unique cocktail recipes. It's doorcountydistillery.com for our friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, affordable, and the absolute best available wherever you get great local spirits. We start, as always, with our buddy Will Summers. Joshy's vocabulary often goes over his head. He writes down the words he doesn't understand and tries to make them make sense. What did we learn today, Will?
Yeah, he called you a furnace blast early on in the show. I could not find a concrete definition for that didn't regard an actual furnace. So, Josh, care to explain that one?
Yeah, that one, you sort of just have to use the context clues.
I feel like that one's pretty easy.
Yeah, a furnace. When I think of that, I'm thinking like a foundry that's creating metal. And the flames coming out, you got the guys in the like metalish silver suits that are supposed to keep them somewhat cool. Like, you're just firing things out of there. It is molten hot lava spitting flames, or when it comes from you, nonsense.
Fair enough. What else?
I like that one. Log jam, but we worked through that one, so no need to go.
We did, yes.
Go there again. Distillation. Josh
Yeah,
used.
I heard him say that one about 5 minutes ago. I had no idea.
Definition: the extraction of the essential meaning or most important aspects of something, which I believe he
good word.
used in the context of explaining Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum stealing things from other people. So,
I mean, distillation.
Well, I know it in the process of like you're distilling something. Door County Distillery, for example. But you used it in a different context than alcohol, so I got a little lost.
Well, yeah, but apply.
yeah, me and Stroh were hand in hand on not knowing what that meant.
I've realized I love this new segment, but man, it makes me feel good about myself. Like, it's rare that anything flies over my head that Josh says, and it just blows my mind that you and Will are so confused all the time.
Oh, I think there are other people out there that go, I'm glad they do this segment.
Distillation that was one that sometimes I say things and I know for sure people are going to give me a look on this one.
That wasn't one of them?
That one felt like straightforward.
Not gonna lie, looking back on it, it does make.
Plenty of sense.
I feel like we definitely could have figured it out.
Well, yeah. Typically when I say things, they make sense to what I'm trying to communicate.
That's fair. All right, was that your list?
Yeah, that's my list.
All right, I do want to talk about this in the last few minutes. Stephon Diggs. Can we get into this a little bit? Actually, no. Pause. Time out. Not yet. We got to go back to Will. Will, you said to me before the show you have a development in the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
So it's come to my attention that only 5,000 bars of soap will be released.
Yep, I said that a few times. Yep.
Okay, so I just
$5,000,
learned that.
$8 each, $30,000 total.
Which
Yep.
made me realize, one, it may be hard to come by, and two, if we are able to purchase it, the resale value, we might be sitting on a gold mine here.
Gotta be honest, Will. I don't think gold mine.
Okay, but like we could profit like $100.
Can you buy more
pewter
than one at a
mine,
time?
maybe.
I don't know. I'm kind of worried about the whole process of
I
buying
would
it.
bet it's one per customer. And I would bet that maybe some of these are going to be sold for an increased price, but it is going to be few and far between.
Yeah, it said it was going to be, June 6th, which is what day? Friday?
Do you have to like sign up? Do you have to do like a...
It just says limited product launch dropping June 6th.
Do we have a time?
I didn't read what it said it smelled like.
Yeah.
I can't read that on the air.
Sure you can.
Morning cedar. Morning cedar, I will say that. Or morning oak.
Oh,
It smells like morning oak or cedar. You understand what I'm saying?
We're only on YouTube.
Grit
You
level
can say it.
medium. Featuring Sydney's bathwater. That's crazy, man. Whatever we're doing, I give many props to Dr. Squatch. But
Speaking of squatches, did you see the video of people claiming they saw a squatch?
where?
Yeah, I sent it in the group chat. You don't get to say where. I sent this in the group chat,
missed
and
that.
no one acknowledged it. Bigfoot is
I missed
real.
it.
Oh boy.
That's what you learned this weekend? Bigfoot is real?
Yeah.
I'm going to push back on that. I did not believe Bigfoot is real. It looked awfully like a man in a furry costume.
Nope, Bigfoot's real.
It sure does. I'm looking at it now.
Nope. That's just because it's far away, so it's going to look a little grainy. That's Bigfoot, man. He's real.
All right. Look, I'm Team Hunter on this one. I think Bigfoot's real.
What I learned is people are still doing that.
That's true. That's true. People are still doing that.
Do you guys
He's right.
think aliens are real?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know if there's much of a debate here.
No, I think the sheer vastness.
We could have the conversation another day, but we're
the
out
sheer
of time.
vastness would make it remarkably unlikely that we were alone in the cosmos.
Yes, exactly.
What I learned is Stephon Diggs has never changed. That was essentially what I learned. He showed up to Pat's OTAs today and said, "Nice to see you all."
Yeah.
I love that.
Where you been?
Yeah.
What's up? Good?
There's
you guys
nothing
doing?
else to address.
No, nothing. No, definitely no pink substances. All right, That does it for us. We're back with you Wednesday beginning at 12:30. No Hunter Wednesday. He is off. He will rejoin us Friday. Will, Joshy, and I will be with you, though, beginning at 12:30 Central, ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. As always, you can find us in the all-new, brand-new ESPN Wisconsin app, which you can download wherever you get your apps, as well as YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you Wednesday. I'm Alex Stroh. Peace.